Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the NYACAST. I accidentally made a podcast, and today we are joined by Kat, also known as Cafe Foxtail, and yeah, we did a video a while ago reacting to memes, but why don't you introduce yourself to my community?
Yeah, sure. Memes, totally memes, and not just toxic posts from toxic cis people.
Yeah, it was just it's silly
from
little
week.
memes. Yeah.
Anyways, hi everyone. My name is Kat. I'm a trans fox VTuber over here on Twitch, where I usually stream a lot of Warframe, and over on YouTube, I also react to usually trans memes. I try to keep it like kind of nice and lighthearted, always talking about stuff whenever I get the chance to, and yeah. The very lovely Niara has invited me on here to yeah. Today is Bro Day, and there are a lot of good mods. Sorry.
What is that Warframe stuff?
Yes, it is.
Gotcha. How is the Warframe werewolf?
Hot. No, oh my god. Fucking the lesbians have been eating for the past like 2 months with Warframe. Are you kidding me? First we got that trailer, and then we got Vina. Oh my god. She during lesbian week, we literally got an emote of a woman eviscerating you and then licking the blood off of her claws. Like, how can you not like
Interesting. Warframe is for the girlies.
Warframe's for the gays. There's something for everybody in there.
Yeah, I mainly play Valorant. I don't know if you know this. This is like also like a very gay game.
It's almost like that's kind of how we originally met each other.
Yeah. Wait, did we? We didn't queue into your match because you're US.
Yeah,
was it
NA. I have sniped you a couple times.
Was it like TikTok content or something?
Yeah. I was gonna say, we found each other basically through yapping over whatever game it is that we were playing on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then both found out that the other played Valorant, and we're like, oh. So whenever I finally got an EU account, I started sniping you just a little bit because, yeah, sniping's fun sometimes. Queue sniping, not stream sniping.
Wow, you're stream sniping me?
No, just queue sniping. I just want to get into the game. I don't really care to know where the fuck you are in the game.
Valid.
I gotta assert dominance in a very fair way, because if I can't, then I can't really brag about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the silliness when it comes to like Valorant, like the community aspect, but sometimes it gets to me as well.
Yeah, that's why I quit playing.
Yeah.
It just got really toxic for a hot minute, and I think that was just mostly around the election. So I had to take a little break and step out.
Yeah, that makes sense. It always sucks, like when it comes to transphobia, or like the specific type of toxicity that you get in certain games is typically just the same over and over again. And after a while, it's just like, if there's one of those days where it just happens back to back, it's like, damn, I missed the silent lobbies, but also silent lobbies are not good content.
Yeah, true. I was gonna say, I slightly missed the people who were unusually sus about my voice. But then again, at the same time, I don't miss the people who were constantly asking me if I was a femboy, and then when I would say no, they would just start shouting slurs at me. So I'm kind of good on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to like Valorant, there's a specific, or there's like a really, like in general type of love when it comes to femboys, but also I queue into cis women as well, and they don't typically like they they don't get asked if they're a femboy as often as I do. And
that was the number one crowd who kept asking me that question.
Yeah. For me, it's like I kind of play into it because it can be silly sometimes, but I wish it was more mixed, right? I wish I also had like the unflavored misogyny sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm being reminded of the time where I had the cis lesbian who was being extremely transphobic in my lobby, and that was enough to make me quit one day. So just kind of like move away from Valor, and I was just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So was being transphobic during Pride Month.
Yeah, that's just painful.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I queue into like all girls lobbies, and then I'm always like nervous to speak because I know if I'm going to like start speaking, they're going to be like, oh no, damn, I thought it was like an all girls lobby, and now we have like and it's like these things hit me harder than when like some dude is like, oh, are you a femboy? Oh my god, I love femboys. Like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, that's why, like, because of that one event, anytime I see the lesbian flag now, like my heart just sinks, and I'm just like,
oh, you disappeared.
Oh, I disappeared? Why did I disappear? Hello?
You just damn trans day of invisibility.
I'm just a voice now.
Yeah, wait, can I refresh this?
It's still working on my end, supposedly.
Okay, you're back.
There we go.
I refreshed the processes.
I'm back. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's just one of the things of like, anytime I see the lesbian flag, like my heart sinks just a little bit because I'm like, fuck, am I gonna have to deal with another like turf? It's just,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, sometimes when I get like transphobia from cis women and like especially lesbians, it hits so much harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like we're kind of fighting for like the same rights and so on, and you're also breaking gender stereotypes and expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ended up matching with the person's partner not long after that. And I was just like, hello. And they're just like, staying away from me. I'm like, yeah, you can fucking stay away from me. I don't care.
Oh my god.
So.
How did they know though?
I don't know. It's just one of the things of like, I think I might have had the trans flag on at that time because it was once again during Pride.
Mm-hmm.
So that, or they just thought I was just like some fucking weirdo who was just like, just staring at them being like, I know what you did. I know who you are. I know what you have done. I can't forget your username. So.
Gotcha.
Shaming the person.
Yeah. I don't know, like it's just it sucks so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have people who are like, oh yeah, you should just like remove the trans flag and then put like any other banner on. But it's like there are also people who just get like bothered by me speaking. And I don't think I should have to like hide my trans identity. Yeah? I think some people should just like stop being shitty.
I agree. Like 1,000%. Like it's not that hard to just accept people for their gender identity, whether they're trans or not, or just anything else about them. Like it takes zero energy to be a nice person.
I mean, it's kind of like a big thing that I also like. I kind of get it from like a general sense of like, yeah, if you don't want to deal with transphobia, you gotta meet all of like the expectations for like cis women, and then, you know, pass and blend in and never actually reveal that you're trans. And then, but like, I don't really think that's like a solution. Also, voice training is really hard, and it's difficult to like meet societal expectations and
Well, yeah, I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
essentially give up a part of who you are just to, I don't know, have like some normality.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like, some of us, myself included, don't want to voice train because we like the way that our voice already is and already appreciate how our voice is.
Mm.
And trying to force people to fit in, whether it be in how they appear or how they sound or in the activities that they do, is just bigoted. It's active like violence. And we see this in a lot of various groups of forcing women of color to straighten their hair or to like shave their hair down to fit like a white society, and
Yeah.
trying to force trans femmes into also fitting to what it means to be a very Eurocentric woman rather than letting them be themselves is just extremely harmful. So, and it's kind of the same thing with like, and this is not, sorry, just not for trans femmes, but like also trans mass people, trying to like force them to be, the stereotypical toxic masculinity, and forcing non-binary people to have to be androgynous. Like, it's, people should be able to express themselves and express their gender however they want, and they don't need to feel pressure to conform to society's rules. Like, if somebody wants to do that stuff, that's great, that's fantastic, they can do that, but they shouldn't be forced into those roles because that's what people are telling them to do.
Yeah. There's just like always like the sense of like, well, it is easier to, I guess, have like this form of like assimilation that the oppressed are trying to like appeal to the oppressor than to like change the system and so on. But it's like, it kind of feels like giving up, and it also makes you miserable because you're trying to fit a different box now, right? Like as a trans woman, I try to adhere to what it means to be a man and so on. I was like, okay, I'm not really happy, and then I'm transitioning, and I was like, okay, now you need to adhere to what it means to be a woman, but because you can't get pregnant, that means you will always be invalid. I was like, okay, so like, why should I force myself into that box and meet like this very specific type of idea of what it means to be a woman just to get like a little bit more of like an acceptance?
Yeah, and God, it's kind of, I've talked about this a little bit, but that making that concession and trying to do all that is just honestly allowing fascism to like continuously spread. Like, whenever I understand for some people it's a safety thing, and wanting to be able to feel safe and not have to be seen because of the place that they are in is extremely dangerous, and so sometimes it's better to blend in.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm not going to argue with that person because your safety is far more important. But when you start trying to push that onto others, that's where it becomes an issue, because you're now you're doing the work of fascist and of the patriarchy and white supremacists. You're actively now doing the whole, well, the leopard eating face party won't eat my face if I, tell other people to just conform. And it's just, yeah.
There's always like
It's
this sense in like trans spaces where it's like, well, if all trans women would meet the cis societal expectations, then we would have all of these rights. But it's because of like those trans people who don't pass, that is actually the problem, and that is making the trans people look bad. And it's like, you're just victim blaming. You're blaming trans people who don't have access to like all of the healthcare maybe don't want to, change everything to adhere to like all of these unrealistic beauty expectations, and blame them for fascists doing fascism.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think the trans women for Trump and Kelly Cadigan just being right-wing grifters and just constantly trying to like appeal to the group of people who are actively going to take away their rights. So it's just
Yeah.
and it's not just like just those people. There's so many more people, and it's not just it's just gross. So
Yeah, I mean, like I get like the mentality of like, oh yeah, I wish I wouldn't experience transphobia. I wish I would just like experience normal misogyny and wouldn't have to constantly debate my existence and justify who I am and constantly be invalidated and called a man or whatnot. But I don't really think that you're going to get peace from all of that, even if you do meet all of like that these expectations, because there's cis women who are also getting invalidated, and it's like chasing after an ideal that doesn't actually exist, and then you turn around and point at the people who don't, have like the pretty privileges like you do or something. And I was like, oh, it's you. You're at fault. And it's just, I guess, trying to be the oppressor so bad for once, because if you're a trans woman, you're kind of, at the bottom of the social hierarchy, and
I'll say it.
a lot just want to punch down, I guess.
Yeah, well, and I'll say this. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but medically transitioning is a privilege. Just straight up.
Yeah.
Getting onto HRT is a privilege. Getting onto any kind of surgery is a privilege because, quite frankly, in all honesty, a lot of people cannot, due to the fact that either one, they can't afford to because they don't have medical insurance, or they're not really able to because of they live with parents who are extremely transphobic, or two, they are in a country where transitioning is either illegal or it's just behind a bunch of barriers where it's extremely like you have to be on years long waiting lists to be even be able to get HRT or to get any kind of surgeries. So it's just one of the things of like saying that being a trans medicalist is just extremely gross and disgusting, and
it's classist.
All it's really, it's classist, and it's one of the things of just like when you finally understand that and realize where it's classist. It's one of the things of like it just harms the community in so many ways, and quite frankly, it also hurts cis women because cis women. I know cis women who are on Spiro and who also have to take estrogen to kind of help themselves out, or whether it becomes I see that somebody asking what's trans medicalist again. Trans medicalist is basically you're saying that you are only trans if you're on HRT and you've had surgeries. So you are setting a bar of what it means to be trans.
Also, you need to be diagnosed with gender dysphoria. That's like one of the starter things. It's like, oh yeah, gender dysphoria is necessary for you to be trans, and then you need all of like the surgeries because you need to quote unquote actually transition from male to female or from female to male, which also invalidates non-binary people, and a lot of gatekeeping.
Binary, which gatekeeping. People also call a trans medicalist true scum. So so interchangeable terms. But yeah, it hurts women. It especially hurts women of color because again, a lot of like beauty standards that society is currently pushing, especially here like in the United States, and I would assume in Europe, is like a Eurocentric white standard. So
yeah,
it's like thin face, thin nose, having to have certain highlights, features highlighted, and it ends up causing a huge problem for especially Black women to be constantly targeted by these transphobic laws. So it's anti-trans laws hurts more than just trans people. It hurts a lot of other people as well.
Not a lot of people that the system cares about, though.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the main problem. It doesn't hurt the elite. It doesn't hurt the oppressors. It doesn't hurt the people who are pushing against all of the progress that society has made, actually, in order to, fight for women's rights and trans rights, intersex people. And it's really frustrating to see this infighting within the trans community, and this split where there are people trying to advance and get more acceptance for trans people, and the others are like, no, we gotta assimilate and we gotta actually stay in our niche, and then there's always this goalpost of okay, everybody has a very specific goalpost that needs to be met in order for them to view trans people as valid. But they pretend that it's universal. And it's okay, if that point is met, at this point I can call trans women women. And then they expect every trans woman to meet this goalpost. But even if that goalpost would be met, it would still not satisfy the conservatives and so on, because we don't meet reproductive purposes.
I mean, it's not just the conservatives, it's also some liberals as well.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the things of people who just don't understand what being trans is, think that they then have to apply whatever rules that they want for trans people.
Yeah.
And if they don't meet said rules or said check marks, then that's not, they're not man enough, they're not woman enough, they're not, non-binary enough. And so therefore I now have the right to misgender them because I don't perceive them as being enough of their gender to meet my standard. And it's just that's not at all the case. Just allow people to be people.
And it's also, I think that when it comes to transphobia, a lot of it is just trying to make misogyny sound more reasonable. It's well, cis women get invalidated if they are, I don't know, overweight, or if they can't meet their quote-unquote reproductive purposes and so on. So now you're just repackaging that as transphobia, and to be oh no, I view you as a man until a certain point is met, or I view you as other until a certain point is met. And it's well, it's just misogyny, and that hurts everybody. That hurts cis people, and we are kind of I guess we are an incredibly easy target, and we don't have a big platform. We're not even allowed to advocate for our rights, because that's making the trans people look bad. Actually, if you're too vocal, you're making it your entire personality. You need everybody to walk over you. That's how you get acceptance, obviously. And it's just, it's so frustrating, because you continuously see the same things, and you also see how it's just repackaging the same things used against cis women. And I was okay, this just feels, a way bigger issue.
Used against people of color.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all of this hatred And a lot of, like pretty much all this bigotry is just rooted in racism. It's not just rooted in misogyny. It's it all ties back to racism.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So.
like, it's just trying to, I mean, the entire like TERF gender critical movement of like, oh, we need to push all of the women out, all of the people need to be pushed out, except for like a specific type of woman when it comes to bathrooms and changing rooms and so on. And you know, in the UK, when you look at like the women who celebrate the reduction of what it means to be a woman to like gametes and so on, you see a lot of misogynistic, conservative, middle-aged white women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, God, there was something else I was gonna say.
Like they're also pushing out
Okay.
lesbians and so on who are, you know, mask a little bit more, have like shorter hair, and that gets like cheered on as like, oh yeah, we're doing justice because like we're protecting the real women or something. And you saw that with like Iman Khalif, where you know, J.K. Rowling still insists, no, that's actually a man.
Yeah. Yeah, this all just makes me think of, if I'm not making some old white lady clutch her pearls, and I'm not actually truly living my life.
Yeah.
Listen, if I can't make an old white lady clutch her pearls because she's like, oh, I'm not living my life like to the fullest. So yeah. Oh my God.
It's just so frustrating when like other trans people can't see that, because like, how do you go through the journey of transitioning and see like all of like these systemic issues, the system work against you, and not develop any form of like sentience and like realize how everything is like kind of, you know, kind of working together.
It's like one of two camps, right? Either one, they're not affected by it because they are passing and nobody can tell, or it's the other group of the people who think, you know, if they try hard enough, if they just pull themselves up by their bootstraps and work hard enough, then they'll be then they'll finally be accepted. And it's just like, no,
I could do it, why can't you? It must be because you're lazy and you don't want to put in the effort. I tried really hard and I fought for this and I deserve to be accepted and included, but you don't because you haven't struggled like me, actually.
Yeah, it's just pulling the ladder up, and it's just ugh.
It kind of, it also kind of sounds like how, you know, this capitalistic society, it talks about, you know, poor people, homeless people, and so on, where it's like, well, I'm struggling, and I managed to like put in all of the effort and have like a home. Why can't you? It's just, there's also a lot of like ableism going on, and it's just.
I, the billionaire, I would pull myself up by my bootstraps by having a, you know, $30,000 trust fund that my parents gave me. What? Wait, you don't also have that? Oh, well, that's a skill issue. That's not at all a societal issue.
Yeah.
Maybe if you worked hard enough, you could also be in a position where I started by my parents, who gave me like enough money to start off on my own.
Every now and then on TikTok, they're like videos, and it's like, I retired at age 25. This is how I did it. So I work for the company of my dad.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
This is how I retired at the age of 25. I simply just had a $100,000 trust fund from my father.
Yeah.
And then I worked at his company for 4 years.
Oh
God.
I worked at Blizzard for 7 years. Oh my god, it's really frustrating how like everything is like coming together and like people just don't care enough, or they just feel like it's hopeless, so why bother?
Yeah, well, yeah. I was gonna say, I'm just being reminded of like the conversation that we had in the video about just like how toxic passing is, and it's just it just it's gross.
Like there's
So many levels.
just also like so much hatred within the trans community for trans people, especially trans women who do not meet these societal expectations.
Mhm.
And as somebody who struggles with voice dysphoria, who is like very open about, voice dysphoria, and who has worked with professional vocal coaches and so on, and still doesn't meet all of like the expectations. Like it's really it's really sad to see that, like, well, you put in the effort, but you still don't meet it, and you wish you could meet these expectations, because then maybe you would have like a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit less stress through your daily life. Maybe you wouldn't get like misgendered as often. But then you also have like people who are just sitting there being like, oh, why don't you use a voice changer? Why do you even like create content? Why do you even like do all of these things? Why do you, you should just like figure it out. And it's like, I have a German accent. For me, it's like I would have to lose more of my accent in order to meet like the US type of like a voice that you often hear. And
Mhm.
I think that's also like kind of messed up, because some languages are just, you know, they just sound darker. They sound more masculine. They're placed differently and so on. So you kind of have to figure out how to speak um a a certain way in order to get gendered correctly.
It's just as an American, Americans are dumb. I literally don't understand that other languages exist. Like, the number one spoken language here in the United States is not English, it's Spanish. And it's just it's I like on some level, I hate my country. I hate what my country's become because it's just
It's so
we
stupid.
truly do like we truly do center ourselves in a lot of things. It's just like because I've heard the trope of the American tourist who goes over to like Germany or France and expects everyone to be speaking English, but surprise,
Hmm.
surprise, they're speaking their native language, and it's just like,
I went to the country of Europe.
yeah, oh my god,
In Europe, they don't
so
even have bottled water.
bring your own water bottle, please. Just bring your own water bottle. It's just yeah, when I say like I hate what my country's become because I really want to see the country become better, and just the way that it's going is so yeah.
Yeah, I
You're like
think
that from the
that's
start. You only got uppity because you wanted to pay taxes. Oh no! You're completely correct. We've been like this from the start. Are you kidding me? Manifest Destiny and like pushing indigenous people off of their land, as we did westward expansion, completely and wiping out the natives population here in the New England area because of religious beliefs and thinking that we're way better than everybody else. Slavery up until 1860, 1870 roughly, and then having segregation all the way up until the 70s and up into the 70s. America has been completely and totally has been running like fashion. Like, let's be real here. Nazi Germany got a lot of its laws and a lot of its like ideas from America, from American racist, from Jim Crow. Yeah, exactly. Jim Crow laws. Like a lot of the racism, because that's the thing, is like a lot of Americans like, oh my God, this is just like Nazi Germany. And it's like, no,
It's just like
no,
America.
this is like America.
This
is America. So trust me when I say like we've been heading in this direction, like it's been becoming worse. That is from my living memory. But yes, the United States has been god awful since its inception.
Yeah. I mean, even like the concept of white, like it doesn't really exist in Europe, because it's like, oh yeah, like the Irish hate the people in England and so on. But you know, it's just like this us versus them mentality that just happened, and based on skin color. I mean, like even what is like included in the definition of like white has changed and been adjusted.
Yeah, Irish people and Italians and Polish people were not seen as white in living memory.
Weren't people from Egypt
Yeah.
considered white at some point?
I have no idea.
I think there was something. Wait, can I? No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. Okay.
Wait.
All I know is my Irish ancestry is very much just like fuck the English. So
in the United States, federal standards and the U.S. Census Bureau officially classify people with origin in Egypt and the broader Middle Eastern and North Africa region as white.
Huh. Oh. I wonder if that's to encompass Israel. And then
That's a good question.
I wonder if that's to encompass Israel and then the Greater Israel Project.
I'm not entirely sure about that. I would have to look into that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that because I'm just like, yeah. These people are wondering where I stand Free Palestine. Yes, it's just, oh my God. So that's like, that would be my question.
Yeah.
Is if they're including that area to appease like Israel working on their like the Greater Israeli Project. So because that's supposed to take up like a good portion of that area.
I can't believe you just got called a cat girl.
Damn, I can't zoom in because if I zoom in, it's just gonna be like my nose on the screen to be like, all right. Because we already know I'm too big on the screen. I had to shrink myself. All right, I had to use my little fox powers.
Going to change your name to have a cat tail.
Oh my God. Oh, sorry, I can't. No, it's all good. Most people call me a cat, and some people spell my name as cat, like with a C, and I'm just like, it's cat with a K. But you know, I'll take cat with the C. You're at least you got that right. So
close enough.
Close enough. I'll take it. Ugh.
Yeah.
But, yeah. At least God. It reminds me of the time that a friend of mine who was a wolf girl got mistaken to be a fox girl with me, and I was like, "Hello, fellow fox girl, how's it going?" As I sent her that post. So,
I mean, at least you meow.
Meow. Yeah.
You make fox noises?
That's just screaming, right?
I mean, any form of noise. I mean, I cackle.
Oh yeah, of course I cackle. Like I. I am kind of well known for my. Not only am I known for my voice, but I'm also known for my laugh. So.
Are you known for your screams?
I haven't screamed like that before.
No.
I do yell a lot. I do yell a lot. So.
I can make you scream.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't get. I typically don't get this far.
Immediately chickened out.
Listen. First time.
Oh, first time for everything, sweetie. It's okay.
Ayo, Yuri and my NYACAST.
It's more likely than you think. Yeah, rolling that crit one.
Actually, true.
Oh my god.
Anyways. Anyways. Was there something else that you'd like to talk about?
Let's see. What could we talk about? We could talk about a lot of things, couldn't we?
Yeah. Possibilities are endless. Like I definitely I wanted to talk about like you know the passing stuff and so on, but I feel like we kind of jumped through with that one. Like we just zoop.
Yeah, it's almost like when you start one topic, we just kind of spiral into a bunch of other topics, and
yeah,
it's where we are. So, any tidbits about trans media and creators?
Okay, I think that like there are a lot of trans women, a lot of white trans women that are like at the bigger end when it comes to creators. Being liberals makes so much sense because a lot of them are just like really privileged.
Ooh, that is a take.
I mean,
but I could see that.
There are just so many. I don't want to name names, obviously.
No.
But like a lot of these like liberal trans women who are not just like I guess like platformed by like conservatives and so on. They're obviously also like incredibly privileged and they're getting boosted and amplified. And they use that money in order to They use that money that they get from normalizing transphobic talking points in order to help with getting like passing privileges and so on. But they're just like so many liberal trans women.
Yeah, I was actually having this conversation with another friend where we were talking about when it comes to being like a trans content creator, it's one of the things of like there are a bunch of trans content creators, but you only really see the ones who have a passing voice. And if they show themselves, like they themselves are passing, and that is like, then those are the ones who take off. Whereas, if you find somebody who like doesn't pass, or their voice doesn't pass, or whatever it may be about them, is just struggling to get by.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like there's some truth to that, and the fact of like, I don't think it's on the trans women themselves so much as it's on
society
and how they view transness, and like how they, again, kind of reinforcing the stereotype of you have to pass and you have to have a passing voice to be accepted by like society as a whole.
Yeah, like a certain goalpost needs to be met before people even like listen to you.
And I'm not saying like these people are like the trans people who do pass and all this stuff are talentless. They have plenty of talent. It's one of the things of like they also have that privilege of passing or having like the passing voice. And I would hope that they would recognize that, but some don't, as we obviously know. And it's just one of the things of like, it's kind of frustrating to have to like feel pressured to perform to be able to get further in a way.
Sometimes I wonder if I would be quote unquote more successful as like a content creator if my voice was more like the ones of like other cis VTubers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that's probably like a big part that like it's just more, how do I say that, more palatable for cis people to engage with content creators who match their beauty expectations and to learn through the trans community from them. And they think they get like the full picture. And a lot of like these trans women do not understand their privilege, and they don't understand what trans people are actually fighting for. When it comes to freedom of expression, when it comes to acceptance in society and so on, when it comes to healthcare, and because there are so many trans women who didn't transition when they were like 18, 19 and had like, funding for all of like the surgeries, had like the fortunate genetics in order to meet beauty expectations for women. Like, obviously it takes a lot of effort, right? Like it takes effort to do voice training, and takes effort to take care of your body and so on. Like, all of this still takes work. But then there's also this aspect where a lot of the trans women that you see that are really successful don't just have that body and so on because they started HRT. And I think taking HRT and hoping that you will meet these expectations doesn't necessarily work.
Yeah.
It helps.
Well,
taking HRT and so on, like, obviously it helps, but it doesn't undo the damage that like the wrong puberty has done.
Well, and I think this kind of just falls into like the structures of of privilege, where yes, it's one of the things of like being trans is, you're not having privilege because of that. But if you're a white trans person, you're going to have more privilege than, say a black trans person, or a trans person of color, or, if you're able-bodied, you're going to have like more privilege, or, if you're able to have a house, or like if you have education and all this stuff, like all that, like I don't think a lot of people understand like those levels of privilege, and then how that can shape their life and how that can shape who they are. And it does take a lot to deconstruct, I will admit. Having grew up in a small rural town in Missouri, and having to then learn, I have benefited a lot from the societal structure and everything because of the color of my skin. It took a lot. It took a hot minute, and like having to not only deconstruct, not only some of the racist stuff that I was taught, but also like the racial bias that I have. It can be a lot to deconstruct, but once you start figuring that stuff out, you start seeing how oppressive the system is and how it really can target various aspects of like your identity, and how some people are not equal based off of where they were born, who, like, what their identity is, the color of their skin, have they had any kind of type of like, are they able-bodied or not? Can they afford, you know, basic needs and necessities? And it's just sometimes I have to like hit my head against the wall and be like, you're so close, you're almost there, but let's fucking remove yourself from the situation. This is not about you, it's about the community as a whole. So
and
sorry, I saw a system, if you're plural or not, because let's be really I can't forget my plural community. So
yeah, it's just it's really like, there's a lot of things going on, and I think there's also like this aspect of like, well, I suffered a lot, I struggled a lot, and now people are telling me that I am privileged, you know.
Yeah,
it's kind of, I think you always get this at like some level.
yes.
And it's
I think that's
it's just really ridiculous when it comes to like transitioning. The fact that you can even focus on transitioning, the fact that you can, like, you know, go through this process, and you know, you don't have to, maybe you don't have to on the side also live paycheck to paycheck, or you're struggling with like depression and all of like these things. Like the level of dysphoria that could be, there's also like an aspect of like, well, for me, I started HRT and I couldn't really do anything on the side, or I fought to like even start HRT, and it took me a while to like start HRT. But the fact that, you know, it's covered by insurance, and I even was able to take all of like these 3 years to, you know, fight to start HRT and so on, that's also a level of privilege that a lot of people don't have. And especially like during times right now when, you know, there are laws being passed in order to ban trans people from accessing gender affirming care, it just gets harder and harder. And we should like fight against this instead of being like, well, that's just unfortunate, and I have my rights, and I don't want to lose my special privileges that I get from, you know, being one of the good ones.
Well, you're not gonna be seen as one of the good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like a good portion of this comes from the fact of like, some people, like the whole not realizing that they have privilege comes from somebody who hasn't realized that they have privilege, and now has like an aspect of their life where they're being oppressed, and because they don't understand, like, it's not a bad thing to be I gotta be careful with my words here, because it's like, it's not a bad thing to be oppressed. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. You should be oppressed more. No, but it's like, there is no shame in your identity. Like, there's no shame in being trans. There's no shame in like whether or not, if you're able-bodied or the color of your skin. Like, you should take pride in the fact that you are these things. But when you do that, you also need to recognize that depending on where you are in your life, you might have privileges that other people don't, and being able to then help others out, or to be a comforting voice to like help people understand that, hey, passing is not the end goal of being trans. It's honestly being happy with your own transition.
Yeah.
Or
the thing is, like, what passing,
finding community is like super.
What passing essentially
like
does is like, it gives you more validity in your identity. You might get challenged less. You might get like abused less. You might get shamed less for being different than cis people. And I think a lot of people mistake that with the goal for you being trans. Like the end goal of you is to just, be seen as cis in order to not deal with like these struggles that come from being seen as trans. But in reality, it's like in order to get progress and acceptance in society is, for trans people to just be included as who they are and be respected and be treated with human decency.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, all this transphobia started, what, like 100-ish years ago? 150 years-ish ago? Because a lot of indigenous and native communities have trans people written into their religious beliefs. Like, even when we look at like Europe, like Greece, trans women were oracles. And then you have, I recently learned about the Aztecs having at least 2 trans gods, like a trans goddess and a trans mask god.
I saw that TikTok too.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, Greece, hell yeah! But then you have like, two-spirited and a lot of native communities here in the United States, and how that is like that's been around, and of like trans identities are also extremely valid in various African tribes, and it's more of this like white Christian Eurocentric belief system, capitalistic. What's the other word that I'm missing? It's colonizing.
Colonizing.
Colonizing behavior is what has caused for a lot of the trans identities to be hated, because like a lot of the hate for like a lot of the homophobia in Africa is by televangelist churches here in the United States.
Yeah.
Like that push of Christians and televangelists going over to Africa and like, teaching those pastors and getting some of the radicals over there to start spreading homophobia has caused, the hate that we see in those tribes or like in those communities. And it's just like being gay was accepted for the longest time. And whenever, you have white nationalists who are going in and purposely spreading hate to try to be like, oh, well, if you hate gay people enough, we'll maybe accept you. And it's just frustrating.
Yeah. It's just
shouldn't be
everything is just like
trans identities apparently. So
everything is just like so funded and boosted by like ultra conservative groups. Or like oil billionaires. They're also like pushing for the anti-trans stuff because it distracts from like climate change. Nobody talks about climate change anymore. Nobody talks about the class war. It's just trans identities and gay people and coming for like women's voting rights and so on. Like it's just every progress that has been made in the past 60-ish years. It's just, they're trying to roll it back and make it worse.
Also, I just want to say this because I already responded about the whole two-spirit being confused with trans identities. The point that I'm trying to make there is that the gender binary isn't so heavily pushed in other communities as it is here in like the United States, and like with Christian beliefs of like there have to be 2 genders. There has to be man and woman, and not so much of just like because the other thing too is like a lot of non-binary people also don't take the trans label themselves, and that's completely valid and fine. I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody to take a trans label if they don't want to take the trans label. But yeah,
I'm also kind of wondering when it comes to, you know, gender or like sex reassignment surgeries performed on intersex infants and so on. I don't really know many other cultures where intersex people, you know, were forced to adhere to like this strict binary system. Because I think that there are always like, you know, certain exceptions or something that were added for those that are not meeting the quote unquote norm. Like I think in like the 7 genders of the Talmud, they had like, oh, male with female phenotype or vice versa, or like something like that. They're like all forms of like different categorizations for those that, you know, are
I was just
intersex.
trying to
So
remember.
I'm just like thinking if there are other communities who are like forcing that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the first one that came to mind was like the Hijra in India, but it's so much of like that's a class, like a caste system where they're seen as undesirables, which is all sorts of fucked up, and that's like intersex and trans people. But even then, like,
I mean, that's just like
it's
seen as like
weirdly,
other, just, you know,
yeah,
shoved away. But then there's also like the social categories and so on that are like existing there, that actually, you know, there was progress being made, and then in like an amendment that was just like trans identities were just like removed again and replaced with like social categories. That was also like recent. It's like certain protections for what was the name? Hijra? It's like,
yeah, HIJRA.
HIJ, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then Sorrel, yeah, no, the fact that they existed and were recognized, it doesn't mean that they were accepted, tolerated, and celebrated.
No, I'm
In some
not saying
communities they were,
accepted. It's just like there was like recently an amendment added that removed like trans identities and like self-identification with like
in India, yes,
for yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's more recent. I think Sorrel is kind of hitting back on my point of like the binary system not existing in other like communities, but that doesn't mean that they were accepted and all that stuff. And yes, no,
no. It's just there like classifications that were being made. Obviously, like othering and oppression and so on happens. It's just I'm just like currently thinking, because like for this Western society, EU and so on, it's just like so normalized to perform reassignment surgeries, sex reassignment surgeries on intersex infants in order to force them into like a binary box, because it's like so unfathomably wild to this society to, you know, accept people who are different. Which is, it just sucks. It causes like all of like these issues, but it's like, you know, one of many of these instances where society just struggles with including and viewing people who don't meet like the status quo as like, you know, normal members of society, equal members of society.
Yep. That's I feel like that's most of what I have to say.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
we kind of jumped into this topic from like starting from like privilege.
yup. So chat, check privilege.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, the fact that I live in Germany and I have like health insurance and I don't have to pay like $150,000 for like bottom surgery, that's like a huge privilege. And it's wild to me for people to sit there and just like expect that from every trans woman.
Yeah. I mean, my privilege for sure was the fact that I walked into my endocrinologist, was like, hey, I would like to transition. And they're like, okay, do you have a therapist? You do? Cool. Do you know the side effects? Okay, cool. Well, you have an overreactive parathyroid, so we're going to take care of that. But after that, you're good to start. And so I did on September 11th.
Yeah, for me, it took a while. It took a while because I also didn't meet like these societal expectations.
Yeah, it's so I admit that I'm very lucky in the fact that I was able to basically start HRT with informed consent, and kind of wish that was the case for everybody. Like I'm just gonna go ahead and like bang the pan and just be like, fucking let it start. Like let people, if you are like in your 20s and you understand and you've done the research and you've looked into what it means to transition and you understand what HRT is going to do to your body and you agree to those side effects, I think you should be able to start. Like also, yeah, just because there's a point where it's just like, yeah, it's one of the things like you're an adult and you should be able to make decisions for yourself. And do agree that there maybe should be a little bit of like a little speed bump, but not a wall. I just be like, hey, are you like understanding, or do you want to know? You know, are you talking to like a therapist, or like do you have somebody who you're consulting about this a little bit, and just kind of go from there. But then again, to me, I had a therapist who was extremely accepting. I lived in a surprisingly red state that didn't regulate that heavily. So, and also just like I had done, up to that point, I had already done like 7-8 months of research on what transitioning was going to be like and what it was going to do to my body and what were the negative side effects that I have to worry about and how to mitigate those. So
yeah, one of my hot takes that is not actually like a hot take is that I wish that DIY wasn't necessary. I wish that it was easier to get access to HRT and so on, and obviously informed consent, and the people who do start going on like HRT and so on to then turn around and be like, oh, it's like the worst thing that ever happened to me, in order to grift to the right and, you know, take trans people's rights away and give like validity. Like I think these are like rare cases that, you know, shouldn't necessarily just be like dismissed, right? Like detransitioning and so on shouldn't be like dismissed, but a lot of detransitioners turn it into grifting to the right, which is just incredibly toxic and creating, just creating a system where it's like, oh, because I decided to go on this journey and it wasn't right for me, I get to decide that everybody else shouldn't go on this journey. And I think that's just it just sucks, right?
Yeah. And like the thing that I hate is they're like, they'll use the excuse of like, oh, it was so easy. And it's just like,
No, it's not.
did you just have malpractice? Yeah, it's really not. But did you also have like malpractice? Because that isn't on the trans community so much as it's on that doctor. Like,
yeah, exactly.
what? Like, it's just
like
even
the idea.
It's so frustrating.
Even the idea that like in order, if you put in roadblocks where it's like, okay, in order to start HRT, why don't we compromise and say that you can start HRT if you go to like a therapist? And it's like, okay, have you ever tried getting a therapist, especially somebody who is qualified to talk about like gender stuff with you? That's incredibly rare. That's difficult. In a lot of instances, that's really expensive as well. So it's just, this is like a roadblock that shouldn't exist because it's not accessible. Like,
I swear Republicans are just probably like, therapy? Oh, therapy's scary. Why should anybody have therapy? Just
the only therapy
suffer.
they like is conversion therapy, which is more like a torture.
It is torture.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just like what I mean. Like some people just, and then they're like, they're not even like happy with that, right? Like you gotta be in therapy for like 3 years, and gotta do all of like these things, jump through all of these hoops. For me in Germany, I had a therapist go like, well, I'm not comfortable giving you the ladder to like start HRT and so on because, well, you don't want to go to like LGBTQ meetups and like wear a skirt and so on. And I'm sitting there being like, I look like a guy. I don't want to get harassed. I still struggle with like, me, like my appearance and so on. And I don't want to like do all of these things because it triggers my dysphoria. That's why I want to start HRT in order to help this. And it's like it was like very old school to be like here in Germany, where it's like, oh, in order to prove that you're actually trans, you have to live for a year in a way that like matches your gender identity and so on. So essentially you gotta start cosplaying a certain type of woman in order to prove to your therapist that you're a woman. And yeah, then just like it just took me forever to like find somebody who was like, yeah, you've been struggling with gender dysphoria for like a really long time. I'm just going to give you that so you can like start going on HRT. And to be fair, it was like also like my fault. Like I was like battling with depression and so on, that I didn't really get myself out there. I didn't really check with like other communities and so on. I isolated myself a lot, and obviously a lot of it caused by dysphoria, which made it incredibly difficult for me to find proper help.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the thing too. It's just like when it comes to like finding that therapist, you have to do it's that balance of like, I am a woman. I am not like cosplaying a woman,
Yeah.
but it's like, okay, but please define what it means to, you know, to turn the words of the conservatives around. Define what it means to be a woman to me, please. And it's kind of the thing. I'm just like, a lot of that stuff, one gets ended up like reinforcing their negative stereotypes, especially of like misogynistic stereotypes of women, or trying to like push this narrative of what it means to be a woman. And if you're not performing that, then you're not woman enough. But at the same time, if you do that, then you're just you're wearing it as a costume, and it's just the finding the therapist who fits, like who recognizes that that's not really a thing, is extremely frustrating and can be
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
also,
then
we shouldn't be scoring people based off of their dysphoria. We should be scoring people based off of their euphoria. So I know that there has been a more of a movement here in the United States for that within therapy. It's not like still not the most popular one. A lot of people still go based off of the industry standard is still dysphoria, but I know a lot of therapists have been moving towards gender euphoria more. So they kind of talk with their clients and be like, hey, have you tried wearing different outfits? Have you tried, socially transitioning where you're trying different pronouns or different names, seeing how that feels? Are you feeling euphoric about that? So I think that's like where it needs to be pushed, is more of a focus on gender euphoria than dysphoria, because quite frankly, a lot of people have been coping so hard and have found mechanisms to be able to cope that they don't
yeah.
recognize that they do have gender dysphoria, and they just go, oh yeah, a lot of people feel this way. No, they don't.
Yeah.
No, they honestly don't. And it's one of the things which is like allowing for people to be like, because that was me. Like, I didn't understand that I had dysphoria about a lot of things, like about having a flat chest, or about having like my hands, like, or having facial hair. I didn't know, or my Adam's apple. Like, I didn't know that I had dysphoria about that stuff until I started transitioning. And then I was like, oh,
This
because like
sucks.
I wore breast forms. Yeah, like, oh, I put on breast forms, and like I put on a bra. I was like, okay, this is kind of nice. Whatever. Like, and then I got breast forms. And I put the breast forms on with a bra. And I was like, oh my god, wait, this is so different. Looking in the mirror, kind of doing like the little like chest popped out, kind of like swaying from side to side to be like, oh, okay, I do want boobs. Yeah, I need a feminine body. So, and then that's when I started realizing, oh, the whole not wanting to like show my chest a lot, or constantly like shying away from pictures, was just dysphoria. So yeah, that's why like I think there should be more of a movement towards euphoria and being like, seeing what it is that makes people happy.
The thing is, like, for me, a big part of how I know that I'm trans is the severe level of dysphoria. And for me, it was like when I was a kid, when I was younger, and I was like, oh yeah, just want to be a girl and like do all of these things. And so I put on a skirt and whatnot when I was like 14, 15, 16 or something. And I looked in the mirror and I just saw a guy in a skirt. And I was like, well, that sucks. I'm never going to do this again. I'm going to like start crying because I don't view myself as, just an average girl. And I struggled with that. So
Yeah.
it was really difficult for me to even get to a point where I can feel actual euphoria. And in order to start on this journey, like, start with HRT and have like some changes and work on myself a little bit more and grow my hair out and whatnot. And now I have moments where I get euphoria and I can like dress up and so on. Like, I still have insecurities, but for me to even reach a point where I can do the things that I really wanted to do without, just hating myself so much that I just didn't want to do it. It took a long time. It was hard.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
euphoria is important, and it kind of breaks my heart when I hear other trans people be like, yeah, gender dysphoria is like the only indication because gender euphoria is actually just a myth and it isn't real and so on. Because it just showcases that like you're still at a point where like you're restricting yourself and you're struggling with your mental health and you're just miserable, and that should not be your goal for transitioning. Your goal for transitioning should be getting to a point where you can have, even just like a moment, like a small moment where you can be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened, but you kind of got pixelated.
I know. I'm pixelated fox. Nobody look at me. All right, listen. I don't want to be seen. No, it's one of the things that just like, I don't know. Maybe this is just how I've always been talking, and like the thing that I've been being refreshed. Chat. I mean, would it be better if I just didn't have my background that probably eats up a lot of?
You're returned.
I am back. Like that's. I know, like that's the thing that I usually hit up in my content. It's just like, whenever it comes to figuring out if you're trans or not, which it's one of the things of like, I know a lot of people say something along the lines of like, if you're questioning your gender, that's probably a good sign that you're trans. And I know some people push back about that and be like, well, but I know cis people who do that. Damn, there's a difference between having, a cough or like, maybe a sneeze every like, maybe to clear your throat out or to clear your nostrils out versus being sick, like coughing every minute or so.
Yeah.
Like the frequency of how often you're having those thoughts is the tell. But at the same time, like the other thing too is just like experiment with your gender, experiment with your pronouns, experiment with your name, figure out what it is that you enjoy and figure out who you are. Because I have a friend who, whenever he asked me to be a groomsmaid for his wedding, I came out to him like right before that, and he was just like, fuck, you're the third person in my wedding party who has came out as trans. Fuck. Well, shit, now I have another gender identity crisis. Give me a second. And like, he went and thought about his gender and has came out and been like, no, I'm still a cis guy. I like painting my nails. I like doing the more feminine things, but I really like, I'm still he, him. These are my pronouns. This is my gender. And like, he is more comfortable in his identity than I have known with any other, that I've ever known in like any other like man. Like, it's been very great. And I love the fact that he's thought about his gender and then he's explored various things about his gender. And that's kind of my thing. It's just like, when you do these things, when you look at being trans, when you think about maybe possibly being trans and you try on different clothing, you try, different, try on makeup if you've never tried makeup on before, or, you change up your appearance, you change up your pronouns, you change up your name, and you see what works for you. If you figure out that, having different pronouns and being like a different name doesn't work out for you, that's fine. You did the work. You tried exploring your identity and figuring out who you are. And if you came back and are like, no, the default settings are, the factory default settings are okay with me and like I enjoy them and I'm like fine with them, good. You have done more with your gender identity than any other cis person has in general. And I think that should be something that you should be proud of. But at the same time, like if you come out the other end, it's like, oh my God, I'm trans. That's fantastic. You've learned so much about yourself and you've figured out so much about yourself. And the thing is like, again, you don't have to like the stereotypical feminine things. You don't have to like the stereotypical masculine things, or, you know, neither, whatever the androgynous aspect of that is. If you're a fellow tomboy like me, fantastic. Come join the club. Join the trans femmes tomboy crowd over here. If you're a femboy trans mask, I love that for you, my buddy. That's absolutely amazing. And that's the thing, is like, experiment, play around, see what works, see what you enjoy, and be that person. Be your happiest self. And that's, to me, that's what transitioning is. It's just finding your happiest, most joyful self that you possibly can, and being your best person, being the best version of you that you can be.
There's always
so
like
real.
this demonization of like questioning yourself and like figuring out who you are. And then there's always like this aspect of like, oh, you start exploring and then you're like pushed into like a certain direction, which is like obviously not true, right? You can,
Well, that's
at any point just like be, oh, I learned something about myself and this isn't who I am, and I'm just going to do the thing that makes me most comfortable with myself. But at least you have some clarity. And I don't know why it's like so expected of trans people to be like, oh no, you shouldn't experiment with your gender identity, because also cis people sometimes, you know, like sometimes you have cis women who do masculine things, and sometimes you have cis men who think about like being women or do feminine things, and it's like, you shouldn't do anything with your gender. You gotta just suppress it and repress it and, you know, fit in. It's so frustrating.
It is, and that comes from the fact of like, it's just fascist trying to make everyone fit into a box, because it's easier to control people when you fit neatly in their perceived box of control.
Yeah.
Where which is why they go after trans people, which is why they go after queer people, which is why they go after indigenous people and people of color, is because we stand outside of that box and we say, oh no, you can be happy by expressing different gender identities, or by not following this, being in this box. You're being like expressing yourself and being yourself and being proud of the person that you are is okay. Like, you don't need to have shame over the fact that you're, you know, a more masculine woman. You can have pride in that and you can enjoy that, or you can have pride in being a more feminine man, and it's okay to express yourself and express your gender identity and to be you. So, and that's kind of the thing. It's just like, whenever it's the trying to control people by forcing them into boxes, because it's easier to control people when they fit neatly in a tiny little box that the elite and ruling class want people to fit.
Yeah. The reason why conservatives are terrified of like LGBTQ representation in media and so on is not, oh, because it makes the kids gay. It's because it shows a gay kid that it's okay to be gay. And it's also showing, you know, cis straight kids that, you know, trans people exist and so on. And that is what like what they are really like stressing over, is because if you show that there's like a different path, then they're like conversion therapy and whatnot, it just doesn't, like, it's not as normalized anymore, right? That's what everything is about. It's just about control. And you know, if you can control people's identities and how they express themselves, it's just easier to control what they should think and who, you know, they should like, which authority they should like submit to. And Yeah, I wish that we would get to a point where cis people would realize that, hey, actually, trans people being accepted and so on also helps me out. Because sadly,
Well,
the
it's
society is not going to care that much if it's just about benefiting trans people without it also benefiting them.
well, that's kind of the thing is like whenever you having diversity doesn't just help the minority group, it helps everybody. So
Yeah.
like when they finally figure out how to do 4C hair for like animation, that's huge. That's amazing because now that allows for not only just, black people to be represented, but it also allows for various other people of, color nationalities to be represented and having to be able to express various communities. And it's a thing of like whenever one group gets rights or like are allowed to finally sit at the table and to be able to talk at said table and have room at the table, everybody benefits.
Yeah.
It's just in general.
It's how when it comes to like accessibility, like you install a ramp for like a building, like it helps other groups as well. Like if you're a parent with like a stroller, you can use that. You don't have to like carry it up. Even if you're just riding a bike, it helps you as well to have a ramp and you don't have to carry up your bike. And meanwhile, when it comes to the opposite of like hostile architecture, it hurts a lot of different groups as well, and it's just like right now what we just like see is they come after trans rights, especially trans women, and it destroys people's expression. Especially cis women are also being controlled when it comes to their appearance and get like so much harassment as well online. And the rise in misogyny is directly linked to that, to the rise in transphobia.
Yeah, it's yep. A lot of things are interconnected. So
Yeah. Like I don't understand like the idea that like, oh, the LGBT community had so many rights and then the trans people came in there and like I feel like only fascists are saying that. It's like this, the LGBT, they are like fine and accepted while they are also coming for like gay marriage and whatnot.
Let's not forget that they removed not only did they remove trans people from the Stonewall Memorial,
Yeah.
which by the way was like the current rights that we have as a queer community were fought for by Black trans women.
Yeah.
And but they were also, I think they removed bisexual people as well. So the LGBT without the T crowd really is just eating themselves. And it's really disgusting. So it's one of the things that like, if you want further proof that these groups like fascists are going to come after you next, just look at how they removed bisexual people from the Stonewall Memorial, and they're going to strip, gays and lesbians. And they're just like, oh, well, it was people who fought for the rights of like, who threw bricks at cops. And it's like, no, it was Black trans women who were throwing the bricks and were getting the rights for gay people, and others came in and joined upon that. And like, remember everybody, Pride is a riot. The Pride celebrations were originally riots to make sure that gay rights and lesbian rights and the rights of queer people in general were fought for and were actually protected. So
Yeah.
remember to have your brick on hand.
I mean, here in Germany, during like Nazi Germany, when I was in school, they taught me, oh yeah, and then there were like book burnings and so on. But it's like, yeah, they burned research, like trans topics and, you know, things advocating for like for gay people. Magnus Hirschfeld was one of like the first who didn't classify being gay as like a mental illness. And like he also had like his, you know, struggles when it comes to like wanting trans people to have like a trans passport or something. So it's like, it's obviously not perfect, but like he did research it, and I think we would be way more ahead if that entire building didn't get destroyed by Nazis.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's just not being taught, that like all of the staff that was killed essentially were like LGBTQ people finding, you know, a home and like a workplace in the clinic itself. So most of the people that were working there were gay or trans, and they got killed. It's like, oh yeah, staff got killed, and you know, the book burnings. And it's just like, it's queer people. That's what they destroyed.
Well, and it kind of just like, it goes back to like even like the burning of Alexandria. It was done by Christians trying to like erase history beforehand of, you know, non-Christian people. So like it's just one of the things of like, you're gonna have like not Christian, sorry, fascists who are going to purposely try to burn history and rewrite history so that way they can make it fit their ideal image.
Oh my god, was it Socrates whose teacher was a woman, and that entire everything got like erased because Christians were like pushing the idea that women can't be in leadership positions or so on? I'm not sure who it was. It was like,
someone's questioning me about the burning of the Alexandria Library.
Aspasia. According to Plato, Socrates was taught rhetoric and philosophy by a woman named Aspasia of Miletus. I don't know. And like you don't hear about that because it doesn't fit into like the narrative that like women can't be teachers.
Maybe I mixed it up. Maybe it was just the burning was by basically like the Romans too, but it was definitely to like erase history. This is why it's important to always double check your facts.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, it's also like a general thing. I mean, like, isn't Trump also didn't he like pull images when it comes to like women in the military and like people of color in the military?
Yeah, I mean, they also pulled the Constitution from the Constitution page.
Interesting.
So it's, you know, trying to make sure that people don't understand their Bill of Rights or,
yeah,
you know, what rights they have here in this country. Because if you can keep a population uneducated and in the dark, then yeah, it's much easier to control them, and it's much easier to make sure that they don't rebel.
I remember that they got like really upset at AOC for telling immigrants their rights, being like, oh, you don't actually you know, you shouldn't actually just be kidnapped and taken to like a different state and then you know, just like dropped off or disappeared completely. Camp. Yeah.
Yep. Let's call the is it the Honduras prison that they're being like sent to is just a concentration camp. Let me
Wasn't
check
it something with an E? Wait.
Or I'm gonna pull up a tab that I can just pull off to the side so I can keep an eye on it. El Salvador, thank you.
El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Something with an E.
I knew it was Central America. But yeah, sending people to the El Salvador camps, that's just a concentration camp.
Yeah.
Like let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not beat around the bush on this. So but
I mean, there's also like this problem of like people thinking that the ones that are going there are just like evil bad people because of all of the propaganda. And if you say, hey, you know, if you go to prison, you shouldn't lose all of your human rights and so on, it's less appealing to a society that has been like told about like terrorists and all of these
who've been sold
evil
on propaganda.
criminals. Yeah. That's also like, you know, the thing when it comes to like trans people, trans women, trans men in prison that are like forcefully detransitioned and so on. And it's like, yeah, you shouldn't actually detransition when you go to prison. Don't do the crime if you don't want to, you know, be like assaulted and dehumanized and have your lose all of your rights and access to medical treatment and so on. And it's like, it's so messed up.
Well, yeah, and it all plays into the like there's that, and then you have like Adriana Smith with being somebody who was brain dead but was pregnant and basically being forced to be an incubator. It's just like that's kind of the goal, is that they want to force people to be, you know, binary, force women into being like childbearing, child making factories. And you know, if you're not useful, they'll just make you into an incubator. And if you think this is just for, you know, black people, no, it's not. They're coming for white women. They're coming for you too.
They stated
right? You're not the.
They stated for like trans men, like detransition is necessary in order to quote unquote preserve fertility.
Yep.
And it's so gross. It's just so gross.
It is. So it's one of the things of like, I don't think on like, whenever a community is being loud about the issues that they're facing, you need to listen to them.
Yeah.
And take what they are saying to heart, because the thing is if these issues are happening to said community, happening to the indigenous community, happening to the black community or the Hispanic community or the trans community or the gay community, those rights being stripped are your rights being stripped. It might not seem it immediately, but that stuff is coming towards you.
Yeah.
Period. And that's kind of, it's just like the frustrating thing of just like trying to like get people to understand that. It's just, again, it plays into the whole thing that was said earlier of like people, like a minority groups gaining rights, gaining equal rights isn't just a benefit for them, it's a benefit for everybody. And that's just, so it's frustrating to try to beat that into people's brains a little bit.
The gaslighting and invalidation of like people's struggles, it's just it blows my mind every single time, because you know, there are trans people who like warned about like all of the things that are happening, and people told me like, oh, you're just fear mongering, oh, you're just like overreacting and so on. And like, right now
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, but like, you know, you're in Germany, so like you're safe. And, you know, then I look at like the polls and see how like the far right is getting more traction, how conservatives are more, you know, paving the way for fascists. And
Mhm.
it's just like, at what point are they going to like stand up and speak up for us? Because I feel like if we are all like in camps and so on, I don't think they're also going to like speak up, right? Like
And that's the
at
thing.
what
It's just like,
point is it just like, are they going to like wake up and be like, oh yeah, this is like fucked up and this is like too far?
yeah, it's because they didn't read the poem.
Yeah.
The first they came for the communists, but I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist, and they came for the trade unionist, but I didn't speak up because I was a trade unionist, and then so on and so forth. And then they came after me, and there was someone left to speak up for me. Like, it's, again, it plays into the whole privilege, like systems of privilege.
Yeah.
But like, I've had this, like, I live in Massachusetts right now, and I'm from Missouri. So I went from like what was once a deep purple state to now like a deep red state to a very blue state. But like, just talking to some of the people here, mainly white people, about some of the issues that, you know, Missouri's facing, and how a lot of that is going to be coming this way, and just like them waving away. It's like, no, this is just Massachusetts. It's fine. Like, we have things kind of like protected, you know, it's going to be fine. And like, I've had to like spell things out for people,
Yeah.
like how they're actively trying to like have a trans genocide by, you know, thankfully these laws didn't get very far, but like the law in Texas where being gay or being trans can count as a sexual offense against a minor, and how that can get you put onto the sex offenders list. And then you have the law in Florida where if you are a sex offender, you could be punished by death. You could just be executed for being a sexual offender, especially if it's a sexual offender, like you're a sexual offender to a minor. And like, I spelled that out for somebody, and they're just like, how can they do that? I'm like, because people don't care. Not enough people care. And nobody's listening to the trans and gay community when we talk about these issues, and they say that we're overreacting and that we're just being like childish. And it's just like, no, it's right there in Project 2025. It's right there, and we already see it being enacted in states.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here being like, well, I don't think you've suffered enough, or I don't think you're just overreacting. That's not an actual thing. And it's just like, tell me that you're not affected by this. Please tell me how you are not affected by this and you don't care because it doesn't impact you. So it's,
I mean, the reason why trans people, gay people are being portrayed as like groomers and pedos and so on is just because if you have been framed, if you have been portrayed as such, and you know, speak up, and or other people are speaking up for you, nobody's going to listen. And it's just, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to see everything happening. Like, I can share my own personal experience. Every now and then I do like a post on Blue Sky or you know, Twitter, and I'm like, you know, not quote tweeting something, but I'm, you know, just like making a statement, put something in quotation marks that I have heard. And then I have like hundreds of comments of people being like, nobody's actually like this. If you were just like normal and, you know, wouldn't make it your entire personality to be trans, nobody would actually have an issue with you. And it's like the gaslighting.
oh my God.
The
Yeah.
inability to like listen to somebody's life experience is just mind-blowing.
Mhm. It is.
I wish things were easier. I feel like
I do too.
I feel like as trans people, you know, like we're kind of like the canary on the coal mine, but like even if we are dying, nobody's going to listen to like the warning signals and so on. And they are
Everyone
just
has
straight up
earplugs.
walking into death, and nobody gives a shit. And then later on, generations will write, "Oh, how did that happen? We could never have such a thing. They were just like stupid. Why did they listen to somebody like Trump? That is ridiculous."
How could these people be so easily swayed and like believe this when it was quite clear? And it's just like, nobody listened. Nobody fucking listened. So, and that's kind of the problem.
People rarely want to. Privileged people rarely want to listen to, you know, those that are more oppressed than them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the kind of the thing is, and maybe I'm just like speaking for mostly white Americans here, but like, I feel like a lot of white Americans want to feel oppressed, and so they will find any like if you ever try to tell them that they have a privilege. Oh my god.
Oh god.
White Christians.
I can't preach
like,
to this innocent pregnant person about how they are going to go to hell if they're entering this abortion clinic.
But it's one of the things
so
like,
oppressed.
If you tell somebody that they have privilege, immediately gets defensive, and there's like, oh well, but, and it's just like, shut up, just shut up, remove yourself from the situation, and objectively try to look at the situation and realize, yeah, you do have some privileges. You do have, like, but there are things.
You're playing oppression Olympics. Oh,
I hate. So,
yeah.
So.
Same. I think also like there are people who do not understand that they are struggling because they are not privileged when it comes to the amount of money they have. They struggle because of like economic privileges that they are, you know, lacking. But they refuse to understand that there are people who struggle additionally when it comes to you know, their sexual identity and so on.
Yep, just keep crashing Grinder whenever there's an RNC.
One day they're going to come out of the closet. I'm sure.
The closet is glass.
Yeah.
We can all see through it.
I feel like a lot of like toxic masculinity and misogyny comes from people who just, like, guys who just aren't interested in being in relationships with women. And it is not the woman's fault that they are not into women.
Yep, I would agree. I'm of the belief that more people are bi and pan. Like, it's actually the majority of people are bi and pansexual because
I made people mad. I made people mad because I said that like the majority of people aren't attracted to the like fertility and like sexual like reproductive purposes and so on.
I think most people are bi and pan, and society has done a too good of a job to basically preach homophobia, and mostly towards men, and like that it's bad to be gay. And I think most people are. I think most men would probably, you know, be much happier if they had a stick up their ass, but in a way that they would actually appreciate.
I think the majority of guys, like the reason why they hate, you know, being attracted to like trans women and they lash out and so on, is just because they think that the entire sense of like romantic attraction is purely based on reproductive purposes.
Yeah.
And that's, because they've been indoctrinated to believe so. So anything that breaks this makes them question things. They don't like that.
Again, it's the everything's got to be in this nice tight little box that I can easily control, because if it's not, then I gotta actually think. I have to think about my gender and my sexuality. No, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How dare people be happy with their sexual orientation and their gender identity, and it not be aligned with what you think it should be?
I wish more people were comfortable with like exploring their own sexual identity, not just like their gender expression, but also their sexual identity, especially when it comes to the difference between, like, understanding the difference between romantic attraction and sexual attraction. And that there can also be, differences. There can be there can be a lot of like variety, a lot of complexity.
Yeah, please preach. Hey, as a lesbian, like bisexual, yeah, I can find women hot, and I can find women to be extremely attractive, and I could want them to completely and totally, utterly destroy me. But that doesn't mean that I want to have sex with them all the time. Like, oh my God.
It's more complicated.
I have felt so much pain for asexual people, and then I sat down and I was like, oh, I understand why I get it now. Fuck. So, yeah, it's just like it's just frustrating sometimes. Just be like, yeah, sexual identity and even just like gender identity is multifaceted, and it has like a lot of, it's like a bunch of different shades of gray.
Yeah.
And none of it like is easily distinguished, and it's how we interpret those grays is how we see gender identity and like sexual orientation, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just now remembering that I need to take my meds. I have failed to do that.
Yeah, like for me there was also like a major aspect with like me having dysphoria that kind of still to some extent kind of limits how my sexual identity manifests. So I'm like always questioning myself. Because the more comfortable I get with myself, the more comfortable I get with like exploring certain things.
Well, and then not only to become more like comfortable exploring things, but you have a stronger sense of self, and are more comfortable with your identity. Figuring out whatever it may be is just like you feel like you have a greater sense of knowledge on that, and are able to then express that a little better. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah. You said you didn't have like severe dysphoria before you realized that you're trans, or you didn't know that it was dysphoria that you had?
I didn't know that it was dysphoria, because where I grew up, I was endlessly bullied for being too emotional. And
same.
I remember whenever I was a kid, there was a fire that happened at my grandparents' place, and it burned down a toy that I really loved. And the next day, I was kind of crying a little bit because, like, you know, I'm mourning the loss of something that I had like really close feelings towards. And the substitute teacher came up to me and basically was like, "Stop crying, boys don't cry."
Who doesn't love that? Woo! Amazing.
Yeah. So I grew up, and it wasn't just him. It was a lot of the other guys in the class as well who just kept teasing me for being too feminine, for being, you know, I had being called gay was a thing that happened a lot throughout like my middle school years, and just
these are things
being
being taught by the environment as well, right? Like if you have a kid and you have like teachers, like grown adults, you know, mock you for not meeting like the toxic masculinity and so on. It just sets like this example. It gives it full circle.
And that was kind of the thing. It was, and then when it was 7th grade, I was in my parents' bedroom waiting for my mom to get done getting ready because she had just became a special education paraprofessional. And I was sitting there on my parents' bed watching the television, and up pops this commercial for Oprah talking about a trans boy and how, you know, he was a girl and realized that he wasn't really a girl, and how he came out to his parents of being a boy, and his parents have started to allow for him to socially transition by allowing for him to cut his hair and like wear boys' clothing and all this stuff. And I distinctly remember when I watched that commercial, the first thought that popped in my head was, could you do that the other way? Like, could I, a boy, become a girl? And then the second thought that immediately hit my head afterwards was, push that all the way the fuck down, because otherwise you're going to be bullied if anybody figures this out.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that's why I didn't feel dysphoria, is because anytime that I felt even the slightest hint of it, the teaching, like societal teachings told me to push that shit all the way the fucking down and to just not even think about it. And that ended up causing me so much pain, and why I ended up having stuff like internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia, and it took me until I moved out of my parents' place and I went to university and, you know, interacted with a bunch of people. I actually ended up, it's funny because I think about it now, I was surrounded by a lot of trans men growing up. I worked with, whenever I was working in retail, I had 2 coworkers who I was constantly chatting with who were trans masked. Ended up becoming friends with like non-binary people throughout university. And the second person who I ended up coming out to, I met her. She was trans femme, and ended up like growing up, I became friends with trans people all the way up. And I also had a boss who was trans, who was a trans man.
Interesting.
And no, sorry, cat trying to get on top of my PC.
Cat trying to get on top of cat.
Yep. My meownager is trying to get in my lap. But when I finally was hanging out with what finally ended up like causing me to like everything snapped for me was I joined a Destiny 2 clan that was nothing but queer people.
Okay.
And like there were some cis-het people, you know, at the time I thought I was one of those people, but I was like, you know, I'll join a queer clan because I want to know, you know, the struggles that, you know, people in the community are facing. I want to be able to like surround myself with these people so that way I can understand their issues, their struggles, normalize them for myself. So that way, because I was like doing a lot of deconstructing. I was like deconstructing the internal homophobia that I had, the internal transphobia that I had, a lot of like internal racist beliefs that had been drilled into me that I was getting rid of. So it was also kind of like watching more content by Black creators and trying to like listen to them and like uplifting their voices as much as I could. And by doing that, I realized, fuck, I'm not cis at all. And I'm not heterosexual. I'm gay, but like, I still like women. And the egg finally cracked whenever I went to a In This Moment concert and listened to In This Moment sing Blood. And I was like, why do I feel gay? Like, this is a woman. I should be feeling extremely straight right now. Why do I feel so gay? Like, in a yearnful way. And then that's where it finally hit me when I came out to my wife. I was just like, honestly, knowing what I know now, 10 years ago, I would have started transitioning at the age of 18, and I would be so much happier to be a woman. And the look on my wife's face was, you need to go to a therapist. And I was just like, you're so right. She didn't have to say anything. I was immediately just like, you're right. I do need to go see a therapist. I've got so many things that I need to figure out. So, and then what finally like was the final nail in the coffin for me was Abigail Thorne, Philosophy Tube's coming out video. And I was just like, that right there, that explains everything. That she is so right. That is how I feel. So that's how I kind of came out, and like why I never felt dysphoria for a while is because pushed down society and I had to like deconstruct a lot of things.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for me it was like I didn't really like, I also had this repression. I had like the sense of like, well, I can never be a real girl, and I don't like being, a femboy or crossdresser or something. Like it doesn't really feel right to me. And I went into like the state of like autopilot. I'm just disassociating. I'm numb. I'm depressed, and I went more into like this like right-wing pipeline, this like red pill type of things. I watched Milo Yiannopoulos back in the day, and like John Peterson. I have like 2 of his books, and I fell down like into this, and I'm kind of like trying to remember what like gave me the push to like even start transitioning. But I think it was like when I was like 22, it's just like, I'm so fucking miserable with everything. I don't think I can make it, and I might as well just like give this a try. And I came out as trans.
yeah, that's fair.
Had my first D&D campaign thing, a woman. And but I didn't really make a lot of like trans friends and so on. And it took me a while. It took me a while to get into like a better environment, a queer environment. And I think a lot of it came from like the internalized like bigotries and like transphobia, and like what I learned through like these anti-SJW things. Of like, oh, all of these trans people are like, they're so obnoxious and so on. All of them are like so creepy. And I think that's why like it took me so long. Like I learned about trans people like more from like right-wing creators than actually like seeking out trans creators and looking for all of these things. It's a problem.
Yeah, it is.
And I
And
wish, I just wish that like trans people existed when I was younger.
Mhm.
And I wish that it was more accepted.
Mhm.
Because I wasted so many years just being stagnant and depressed and not actually caring about anything.
Mhm. I feel like that's how a lot of trans people are. It's like, yeah, you just kind of float through life. Like before they figure out that they're trans, is like you're just kind of numbly floating through life without any kind of real direction or knowing who you are.
Like even sitting down and like trying to learn like a skill, something that I'm like passionate about, it was really difficult. Because I just didn't, it didn't really feel like I was like living my life and like fighting for my achievements and like learning something for myself. It just felt like I'm just, I don't know, doing it for somebody else, or like doing it for a life that I shouldn't, like I wasn't meant to live in. So just like it felt so pointless. It felt pointless to get like good grades in school because like for what?
God, I feel that because I got a lot of accolades and I always was just like, these aren't my accolades.
Yeah.
I never could like explain that as a kid. I was just like, yeah, I'm getting all these accolades, which is great and all, but like, I don't feel like they're mine.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, that's why I was living a lie. So,
like
okay.
for me, it was just like it was always so. I always hear stories of people being like, "Yeah, I missed like all of these signs for like such a long time," and I'm sitting there being like, from a really young age, I just knew that I should have been a girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew at a really young age that I felt more comfortable being around other girls than I did around being guys. And I wanted to be a girl. It's just, it was really hard for me because I didn't have the language at the time or the knowledge. Because, yeah, I grew up in a, like, again, small rural town. So, and it was like deeply Christian. Yep. Oh. Okay. I really gotta go to the bathroom.
Same, actually. Do you want to keep going, or are you? Do you have to like start streaming, or typically I do like 2 hours or so. Like we are, and at that point,
I haven't had lunch, so
okay.
I'm a little hungry. But usually lunch for me is just like something I throw in the microwave and call it good.
Like if you want
to a little bit.
If you want to head out, if you want to, you know, it's like kind of.
Yeah, I could head out. I would kind of like.
I mean, we talked about like a bunch of topics, right? Like, I think that we should definitely do this again. Like, if you're willing to come on here again, but yeah, we did talk about a bunch of stuff, bunch of important things. And I think it would be like a good point to just call it a night.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I also need to get you back on for actual trans memes and not just, you know,
not just
screaming
like,
and yelling at cis people.
Yeah, exactly.
Toxic cis people. So,
yeah. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was very wonderful. Good to just about various things.
Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Sure. Hi. Yes, I am Cafe Foxtail. You can find me on Cafe Foxtail on pretty much everywhere. That's CAFEKATTAIL. T-A-L-E. Everyone thinks it's tail, like the tail behind me.
Yeah,
but it's tail,
out of
it's like telling a
habit.
story.
Out of habit, I also.
Main YouTube channel is my main YouTube channel is Cat Faye Foxtail, so it's a pun because it's meme videos. You can thank one of my moderators for that. But other than that, that's where you can pretty much find me. Every once in a while, you can find me just here in NYACAST chat. So, you know, follow Nyara on everything as well, because I pop in every so often. And also, Nyara is just a really cool creator. So she does a lot of good things. And don't you even dare try to know you, me. It's and you, girl. Get it right. And yeah, so, you know, do all the things like follow, subscribe, comment, chat in the chat, everything for Nyara, because she deserves it.
You're doing to me what I did to you now.
Yeah, get wrecked. It's my revenge now. You have me on here. I'm going to promote you just a little bit. Get loved, nerd. Get absolutely loved and appreciated.
How dare you? How absolutely dare you? The audacity in front of my chat.
You know, I gotta support my friends, regardless of where I'm at. So,
yeah, thanks for hanging out, and
yeah,
we should talk after I'm gone for TwitchCon. We should yap again sometime.
Last time it was after PAX East, so we can chat, and now it's after TwitchCon.
After TwitchCon,
just gonna be constantly going back first.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Go piss, girl.
Yep. You too. You go piss, girl.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. For Twitch, I will be streaming a little bit longer, but for YouTube, thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the NYACAST, and I will see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.